Thank you. Mr. Coffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your service, and thanks to the service of our men and women in uniform. When, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman, can you tell me when it was clearly communicated to Muammar Gaddafi that if in fact you do these things that create the humanitarian crisis that you describe, that we will in fact intervene militarily to degrade your capability and to stop this humanitarian catastrophe from happening, as we assembled these forces to include predominantly our own? When did we clearly communicate those conditions, and what specifically were those conditions, so that if he ceased his activities in terms of again attacking civilian targets, that in fact our forces would not intervene?
Well, first of all, he should have seen this coming, beginning with the Gulf Cooperation Council resolution, then the Arab League resolution. So he and the moves in the UN with the first resolution and then the second resolution. So this wasn't exactly like he was surprised. What the President said in his announcement of his decisions was that for the attacks, for the ground attacks to cease, that he would have to pull his forces back away from Misrata, from one of the towns in the west that was Al-Jawiya, that he was attacking, restore power and water to Misrata, and pull back well to the west of Ajdabiya. So he was very explicit in those specific. He was very specific in those matters with his announcement of his decision.
So, but there really were no clear conditions made. Were there really clear conditions made where we were waiting for a response from Muammar Gaddafi on preventing this humanitarian crisis for which we now are engaging in combat operations?
He started these actions the minute that the people began, the uprisings began in Tripoli and the other cities, and you know, the response was, I think, clearly communicated to him what was going to happen.
Mr. Secretary, I don't believe that this. I served in the Army and the Marine Corps, and I know what humanitarian missions are, and our men in uniform know what humanitarian missions are, and they're generally in a permissive environment where our security concerns are simply the integrity of our logistical support. These are combat operations. Were intended to be combat operations from the beginning. I don't know why this administration has not been honest with the American people that this is about regime change. And it's stunning to me when the President of the United States, in his address to the American people, says that regime change in Iraq took 8 years, and this is going to be different. Well, regime change in Iraq took 3 weeks. It was the humanitarian crisis that was caused by the vacuum of power in the aftermath of the fall of that regime, you know, whereby there was anarchy, there was looting, there was massive criminality, and then there was an ensuing sectarian civil war for which we were engaged in, that has gone on now for 8 years. And so, but it is stunning to me that this is just the most muddled definition of an operation, probably in U.S. military, to say what it is and what it isn't. To say this is not about regime change is crazy. Of course this is about regime change. Why not just be honest with the American people?
Well, first of all, I think that the President has been quite clear in terms of what the military mission is. And that's one of the reasons why we can take the position there will be no boots on the ground. Most instances where there has been regime change, where that is the objective of the military operation, it has taken ground forces to make that happen. But the President has also been clear. So there is the military mission, which has limited objectives and is limited in nature and duration and scope, and then there is the political objective or the policy objective of the need for a change in the regime in Libya. I don't see how that's muddled.
Hey, Mr. Chairman.